Our second session here at the ISB Boston Product Show. I'm here with Tom Struble. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Jesse. Good
Much
to be here.
like Mike. Mike ran across the entire stadium to get here. Tom just ran across the entire stadium to get here. Hey, Rick Piero. Tom is the immediate past president, correct?
Correct.
I got that right?
Yep.
So when Tom and I worked together for a lot of years because we both were on the product show from our wee days.
That's right.
And now we're getting old. And he's the immediate past president. He's had a big year. We had a lot of stuff to deal with this last year, and Tom's done a wonderful job. Now Mike's taking over. So what we're talking about today is just as sort of how ISB has impacted your career, whether that's been, because of the stuff you've learned from it or your involvement or what, that's the stuff we want to talk to. But before we do that, other than immediate past president, could you just give us a little bit of an idea who you are, what you do, what your roles have been, things like that?
Sure, Jesse. Happy to be here on my first ever podcast experience.
Boom.
So, exciting. My name's Tom Struble. I've been in the industry here in Boston for the last 11 years or so, an ISP member for just as long. I work at DPS Group. They're a global engineering, construction, and validation company. So support a lot of pharma, biotech companies for their validation needs in the greater Boston area. I'm their director of CQB in the Boston Projects office.
Excellent.
I've had a lot of roles at ISPE, and I feel like 11 years is a long time, but I was just at our great keynote session where they were pointing out people that have been to all 30
of
these product shows.
Yeah, so I feel so not old when
11,
I see that.
11 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's been 11 great years. I got involved with ISPE because a friend of ours who you're going to be talking to later, Dan Ramsey, I worked with him at the time, kind of just said, "Hey, Tom, you're new to the industry. Come with me to this. I'm going to show you, kind of how to network." And he brought me there. He showed me around. He taught me how to start networking, and it's a learned skill. I think. I didn't really know how to do that before. And the event he brought me to was studying for a program that was called a CPIP at the time. It's no longer,
we talked about that on our last one too. Yeah.
So no longer here, but
we were probably in the same class. We just didn't know each other back then.
So I was going to these classes at Biogen, which
with
is
Brian.
Also no longer there. Yeah, with Brian.
Yeah, we were in the same one.
So, I know. I still see people from the class that I recognize and never talked to 11 years ago.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot about the industry that I was really new to there. I started meeting people. And then probably about a year later, Dan called me up and said, the product show, have you heard of the product show? And I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, okay, come to the product show, and then I'm going to need you to volunteer. They need that you're motivated.
You will volunteer.
Yeah, you will.
Yes.
I'm volunteering you to volunteer yourself to liaise between the educational programs committee and the product show, because there's so many educational programs here at the product show, and they needed a liaison to help with the communication. So I started doing that. I then got more involved with the product show committee directly. There are subcommittees within that for planning the product show. I led the exhibitor subcommittee, which was it came up with ideas and efforts towards enticing exhibitors to pay some good money and come exhibit at this awesome show. After that, I chaired the show, the product show planning committee, for 2 years, and then got to serve on the board of directors. So I did a year on the board, and then I was the secretary, the vice president, and the president last year. So I'm, I guess, in
greener pastures now. Greener pastures.
Yeah, greener pastures. So I'm on the board one more year as the immediate past president. But it's been awesome. It's been a great ride. I'm going to stay involved with ISPE. It's been nothing but a positive impact on my career.
Yeah. So aside from Dan telling you that you needed to be a part of it, what was attractive to you about ISPE when you first? So maybe you got told to start. Was it attractive immediately, or were there certain things that sort of I really need to be a part about this? What sticks out to you?
I simplified the story a bit. He didn't quite force me.
That's
but
all right. I'm gonna lay it on him later.
I thought I'd be a good fit for it. But I was in the Navy.
Yep.
As you were in the Air Force.
Yep.
I didn't learn how to network in the military. I don't know if you did. That's not something I was taught there. I hadn't really been a civilian for that long. I had gotten a little taste of networking. I had just moved to the area from the West Coast, and I didn't know anybody. And I kind of said I was working at Genzyme. I was walking down Sanofi now in Alston during their consent decree. I was walking down back in 2011. I was walking down drawings. I wasn't really meeting people, and Dan brought this up, and it seemed to me like a good way to get to meet other people in the industry, because it seemed like the kind of industry I really wanted to dig in and get involved in. And when I showed up to that first CPIP training, I learned so much. So the education really that ISP offered was sort of the first draw. And then as I got more involved, the networking aspect was sort of the biggest draw that really pulled me in. Yeah. And then as I volunteered, I found a lot of joy in it, I guess. And when I went to this first product show, I think the first one I went to was the first time it had been on both sides of Gillette, and people were trying to explain that to me. I didn't really understand it at the time, but it was a pretty cool experience. I never really been to anything like that before, and the thought of the opportunity of being able to kind of volunteer and try to come up with new ideas for the show just seemed appealing to me. I liked the organization. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I just wanted to put myself out there. And since I've started, the show has grown so much. It's been so much fun planning, and the volunteering has been, it's been good.
Yeah. It's funny in the Boston area, obviously ISPE is a heck of a lot more than just a product show, but the Boston area, the product show certainly does define a lot of the ISP experience for people. So
yeah, it's well known.
Yeah. And when you started back then, I think the first year, I could be wrong. I think the first year it went to both sides was 2013, because the first time I came was 2012.
That sounds right.
And I believe it was only on the east side that first year I came. Okay. So, and I think we had both joined the committee, and I didn't do anything the first year. So that's how you got ahead of me.
That's right.
Nobody was making me do it.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. So, I'm doing all the same questions for everybody. So we're going to end up with some repetition here, but, we've talked a little bit about how the networking has really become maybe not the thing, but a major thing.
Yeah.
How has that impacted your career? So being a part of ISBE, you've gotten to learn, you got to network. How has that actually impacted your career over the years?
So my current position at DPS, I can owe a very large part of that to ISPE and the people I met. And we'll throw another name out there. Recent Hank Mo's Award winner, Jim Grunwald. Everyone knows Jim. I met him early on at an event. We worked together for a while, and then he had moved on to DPS and was working on recruiting me there for a while. And eventually I came over. It's been great.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be here if I hadn't met Jim at ISPE. I don't think that we'd be as successful as we are right now if I didn't have connections that I made through ISPE. It really was my introduction into the industry.
Right.
Like I said, I moved here out of the Navy, didn't know anybody. So I really owe a lot to ISPE, which is why I keep gushing about volunteering for them. It's happy to get back, and it's been a lot of fun. I've made a lot of great friends.
Yeah.
Like yourself.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Do you have any story about a time where ISPs had a special impact? Obviously, becoming part of DPS
was one, but
that was a story. I know, but I already had the question written there, and you knew it was coming. Right. Do you have anything else?
Any other stories?
I snuck this one up on Mike. He wasn't ready for it, so.
Just the other day, I was at a couple weeks ago. I was at the ISPE I'll try to bring this full circle. I was at the ISP educational strategic planning session, and I went over to a guy and I said, "Hey, I recognize you from CPIP class 11 years ago in the basement of Biogen. I'm Tom Struble." And he goes, "Yeah, I recognize you too. I'm Alan Driscoll." He worked at Sanofi at the time. I don't know if you know Alan.
I do. I know who he is.
And,
yeah.
And we just sat there and we chatted for like 20 minutes and just we were kind of laughing about the fact that we didn't really talk to each other back then.
That
but
is funny.
I recognized the guy. I just remembered funny things like he had is he Irish? He had an accent.
Yeah.
And we kind of caught up. And I just feel like 11 years later, I saw this guy. I'd seen him here and there, never talked to him. And I said, why don't I just go talk to the guy? And I've, kind of made another new connection just like that.
Yeah.
So
it's, when you think about coming to events and we talk about networking not coming naturally, it's something you sort of learn.
Yeah.
Something that really sticks out to me when you come to events is exactly what you just said. You come to these events and some of us are naturally outgoing, some of us aren't. But at the end of the day, if you want to network, go find somebody that's standing there and just go and say, hey, right?
Yeah.
So one question, this will tell me if you were in the same class as me or not.
Okay.
Do you remember an earthquake in the middle of the class?
Yes.
Good
call.
We were.
I would never have remembered that. That's funny.
Yeah. And I only went to like 2 of them, and I had to quit for some reason. But one of them, there was an earthquake in the Boston area, and we were all sitting, and we were like, "Did a train just go right under our building, or what just happened?"
That is funny. Yeah.
Yes. So and all of our phones started ringing.
So we knew each other before we knew
each other. All right. Awesome. Well, Tom, thanks for being on today. Appreciate it. I hope you continue to have a great show.
Yeah. Thank you.
No more running.
All right. Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.